Hello, my name is Grace, and I will be speaking to you about dress codes. Imagine coming to school thinking it will be a completely normal day and instead being pulled out of class and publicly humiliated because someone thought your clothes were too short. This is exactly what happened to a student in Florida in 2015 who was forced to wear a shame suit consisting of a shirt and pants with the words dress code violation written on them for the remainder of the school day. At first glance, dress codes may not seem like the most pressing issue at schools right now. However, dress codes potentially affect the learning experience of every single student at the school. Dress codes have a disproportionate negative impact where they intersect with issues surrounding body type, gender, race, and accessibility, yet there is no group left completely untouched by these policies. Dress codes are problematic, and a large part of this problem is their subjective nature. For example, the Christina School District's dress code says any garments deemed inappropriately tight, short, or revealing are prohibited during school hours, but whose definition of tight, short, or revealing are we using? Beliefs about modesty are often influenced by individual religious beliefs, which are supposed to be excluded from public school policies and practices entirely. This subjectivity makes them discriminatory because dress codes tend to be applied unevenly along race, body type, and gender lines. Dress codes amplify the problematic culture of victim blaming. Dress codes teach everyone, but especially people who are perceived as girls, that their bodies are distracting and that it is the owner of the body who is responsible for the focus and success of the person looking at them. When my mom took up the issue of dress codes with my school's administration a few years ago, she was told, "Boys just get so distracted by girls' shoulders." Sounds pretty silly, right? I mean, I'm attracted to girls, and I don't get distracted when one of my female classmates is wearing a tank top. This comment puts the blame onto the person wearing the distracting clothes instead of on the person getting distracted. But this comment has another layer to it. This comment sets boys' education as a higher priority than girls'. When a student gets taken out of class because their shorts are deemed too short, they miss valuable instructional time, which is far more disruptive to their education than their clothes were to the rest of the class. Female-presenting students are disproportionately expected to change their attire to protect the education of boys in their classes. This teaches them that they are the problem, that they are responsible for other people's lack of control, and that their education is less important than everyone else's. Dress codes impact teachers as well. Putting the responsibility for enforcing dress codes on the teachers pulls focus from the subject they were actually trained to teach. The purpose of dress codes is to limit disruption in the classroom, but they just end up causing it instead. Schools even contradict themselves when it comes to the dress code. Some uniforms for school activities have tank tops or very short skirts or shorts as a required component, like the field hockey and cheerleading uniforms. Students have to wear them whether they are comfortable in these clothes or not. Sometimes, students are required to wear these clothes during select school days because of the nature of their after-school activities, and the school never takes issue with that. Why is it acceptable to publicly represent the school in these clothes, but not to wear the same styles from their own closet by choice? If students are allowed to wear these uniforms during the school day, then they must not be that distracting, right? And, if they're not that distracting, why can't other students wear similar clothes while they learn? The first time I gave this talk, I wore a tank top to illustrate my point. Today, I wore a fairly close-fitting shirt for that very reason. Most of you probably didn't notice, but if I had a very different body type, this shirt would suddenly go from being fine to being inappropriate. This is because it's not actually about the clothes, it's about controlling the bodies in them. I asked the audience to take a moment and think about whether or not they were distracted by my bare shoulders, and the feedback I received after confirmed that no one was actually distracted by that. This reinforces my earlier point that distraction is not caused by the body of the observed, but by the brain of the observer, which is where the responsibility and solution lies. If you think your ears and brain would have worked just fine regardless of what your eyes saw, just like the people giving me feedback, I would ask you to consider taking some action towards making the dress codes fairer and more inclusive. At Christina High School, we have a dress code that is set by the school board. If we want change, we have to raise the issue with them. The Christina School District website outlines the 3 main ways to do this, which are to write an email or letter to the school board, call individual school board members, or sign up to speak during the public comment section of a regular school board meeting. The ideal dress code would be modeled after the sample dress code suggested by Oregon's National Organization for Women to help Portland schools in updating policies, which requires the following. Students must wear some type of shirt and pants, or a dress which is both. Primary and secondary sex characteristics must be covered by opaque fabric. The clothing must be suitable for classroom activities, and the clothing does not depict violence, hate speech, or similar topics. One of the main goals of their dress code is to improve accessibility for all students, including neurodivergent students and students with physical disabilities. I would elaborate on that, but that could turn into a whole speech on its own. Schools might not look much different, but improving the dress code would have a large effect on the school and outside community overall. It would relieve stress that it puts on students and teachers, and it would help students feel more comfortable with however they present themselves. Sure, a school can't change all of society, but changing dress codes is a solid first step towards creating a world where our clothing choices do not determine how we are treated. Please consider reaching out to your local school board so we can take that first step towards creating a better version of our school and our world.